Teacher Talking Sports, what it does, what it do, how we live. And if you've been a follow the channel, you know each and every Thursday I do something we call Is He a Hall of Famer, where I take a look at a professional athlete who many may be on the fence as to whether they belong in their sports Hall of Fame, take a look at their career, give my final verdict on whether or not I believe they deserve to be in. But most importantly, I like to hear what you guys have to say about the player in the comments. I start off by doing guys whose career recently ended or are on the verge of ending very soon. Transition more into guys whose career have been over for a decent amount of time, have been eligible for their Sports Hall of Fame, but have yet to make it. I didn't mean to do three consecutive football ones. This will be a third. But these guys have been in the news 2 weeks ago. There was an article on ESPN about Fred Taylor and if he should be in. Last week, there was a interview on The Athletic where Corey Dillon wasn't happy about not just not being in the Hall of Fame, but the Bengals Ring of Honor. And this week, a few days ago, this guy didn't speak about his candidacy, but someone else spoke on him. We'll get into that in a little bit, what he had to say. But the 23rd episode of Is He a Hall of Famer is safety Darren Woodson. Woodson was selected in the second round, 37th overall in the 1992 NFL Draft out of Arizona State. Woodson played 12 seasons in the NFL from 1992 to 2003, all with the Dallas Cowboys. Let's take a look at his career numbers via his Pro Football Reference page. So for his career, played in 178 games, 23 interceptions, 271 yards on those interceptions for 2 touchdowns. Woodson won 3 Super Bowls with Dallas, a part of those legendary Cowboys teams in the 1990s. Cowboys fans are craving to have teams like that. But anyhow, it was an awesome career for Woodson. 5 straight seasons from 1994 to 1998. He was named to the Pro Bowl. 3 straight seasons from 94 to 96. He was a first-team All-Pro. He was a guy who could be considered somewhat durable. 8 of his 12 seasons, he played in all 16 games. In each of his last 10 seasons, he had at least 1 interception. Now, you may be thinking 23 interceptions, 12 seasons, so slightly less than 2 per season. But, that's why sometimes it's hard to just look at the statistics to say whether a defensive back belongs in the Hall of Fame or how productive they were. Darren Woodson, while he played safety, he was a true cover safety, and he's a guy that teams would love to have today as teams go into more 3 and sometimes 4 wideout sets. He would have been very useful in today's game. Not saying he wasn't useful back in the 90s. Of course, a member of so many good Dallas teams. If you actually look at Dallas's all-time tackles leaders, Darren Woodson is atop the list. So he had 23 interceptions, forced 12 fumbles in his career, so about 1 a season, about 1 fumble recovery a season, 11, and had 11 sacks for his career. Again, a sure tackler, and when he was in the passing game, passing downs, it's not like teams were throwing to him much. That's why he didn't have high interceptions. He was seen as a cover safety, and there weren't too many of them in the league quite like him in the 90s and even in today's game. See approximate value, a measure that Pro Football Reference uses to say how good a player basically was for that season. He had 3 seasons of at least 14, which is excellent. Playoff numbers, won 3 Super Bowls, and they actually came in his first 4 seasons. 3 interceptions in the postseason for his career. Let's take a look here at the Hall of Fame monitor. So, Pro Football Reference has the Pro Football Reference Hall of Fame monitor, a metric designed to estimate a player's chances of making the Pro Football Hall of Fame using approximate value, Pro Bowls, All Pros, championships, and various stat milestones. So, we see, where is he? Right here, Darren Woodson, 65.33. One spot ahead of John Lynch. More on him later. So he is ahead of some Hall of Famers, including John Lynch, Ken Riley, Emmett Thomas, and Dick LeBeau. There are some guys that aren't in the Hall of Fame ahead of him. Dick Anderson, Butch Beard, Eddie Metter, Jimmy Patton, Darren Sharper. He's not going to get in, off the field stuff. Bobby Boyd, Eric Weddle, who recently retired, actually did an Izzy A Hall of Famer on him. You could check that out. Have all these in a playlist. So basically, his score kind of has him on the fence as well. Some Hall of Famers he's above, but there's some guys who aren't in the Hall of Fame that are above him. Now, this surprised me because I noticed that he didn't make the all 1990s team for safety, either first or second team. So I was wondering who made those teams for the 1990s. So we see the first team was Leroy Butler and Steve Atwater. Both of them had somewhat lengthy waits to get into the Hall of Fame. I thought Atwater was someone who definitely should get in. More on the fence with Butler, but they both did eventually get in. Ronnie Lott was a member of the second team, and that's despite only playing half the decade. His last season in the NFL was 1994, so he just played 5 seasons of the 1990s decade. They believe he still did enough to earn a spot on the second team all 90s. And Carnell Lake, the other member. Now, Carnell Lake was a great safety for the Pittsburgh Steelers, but despite, yes, he played the entire decade. That gave him an advantage over Darren Woodson. Darren Woodson came to the league in 1992 and wasn't a full-time starter until 1993. So he was really just a full-time starter for 7 of the seasons in the decade. Lake was awesome, don't get me wrong, but personally, I think I would have had Woodson on over Lake for that second team. You could agree, you could disagree. That would have just been my all decades team. I'm a Giants fan, so I saw plenty of Darren Woodson twice a year. Really started following football basically around the time his career started. So again, got to see plenty of Darren Woodson, and he was definitely feared. And Terrell Owens, I spoke about a player speaking about this guy. So yes, this was from July 10th. Cody Benjamin of CBS Sports. Terrell Owens says Darren Woodson should be in the Hall of Fame over John Lynch. Now, Terrell Owens not exactly happy with the Pro Football Hall of Fame. They made him wait. He didn't earn inclusion into his class. Took him 3 years to be enshrined, is what I'm trying to say. For a guy who clearly put first ballot stats up. He actually had his own personal enshrinement party rather than join with the other members of his class. But the longtime wide receiver sounding off once more. So, revisiting the situation on Fubo Sports, get your popcorn ready. He hinted that Woodson would also be justified in taking umbrage with the Hall of Fame voters. I'm thinking about a guy like Darren Woodson, he said, who's not in the Hall of Fame, but John Lynch is. How in the hell do you quantify that? I want you to go research. Go research and see what Darren Woodson has done. Yeah, John Lynch did some great things here and there, Owens continued, but I'm not looking for John when I'm on the field. I wasn't. Just because a guy starts on the defense and he's the number one guy back there, that doesn't mean he's impacting what he's doing. I wasn't scared of 47. Goes on to mention, their stats. John Lynch did have a lengthier career. I believe he played something like 50 more regular season games than Woodson. Woodson was forced to retire probably a bit earlier than he would like due to back ailments. Um, but Woodson did win his 3 Super Bowls. Lynch won just one. Lynch was a 9-time Pro Bowler, so 4 more than Woodson, but a 2-time first team All Pro compared to Woodson's 3. And I will say some of those Pro Bowl nods for Lynch at the end of his career with Denver probably could be debatable. So this was Cowboys Wire, part of USA Today. Cowboys Darren Woodson on wait for Hall of Fame. At some point, it's going to happen. This was in February 11th of this year. So he's been eligible 15 times now. He's been a semifinalist 7 of those times, so about half the years he's been eligible. And this past year, well, this past election period, so this year, he was a finalist for the first time. That's pretty surprising that he's only been a finalist once. So he went on to say, yeah, anytime you're in a situation where you're up for it, obviously he didn't get enshrined, where you're up for an award and you don't win it, I'd be a fool and lying to you if I said I wasn't disappointed. I'm disappointed, but I'm not broken by it. I think there was one other thing he said here. Maybe not. Oh, going into this, my expectations were set on, hey, this is my first time on the floor. I'm not sure if anyone makes it the first time you get into the top 15 unless you're a first ballot guy, but I'm okay. I've got a lot of friends and family and tons of support here. I'm going to be fine. So Darren Woodson, believes that he will eventually get in. Unfortunately, he's had to wait quite some time. Playing career ended 2 decades ago now, and he's been eligible 15 years. So my final verdict, does Darren Woodson belong in the Hall of Fame? I gotta go yes for this one. As I mentioned, I am a New York Giants fan. I saw plenty of Darren Woodson throughout my fandom. I don't think Tio was necessarily saying John Lynch doesn't belong in the Hall of Fame. Just what he was saying is that he doesn't think he should have gotten in before Darren Woodson. And I tend to agree. Now, John Lynch was definitely a hard-hitting safety for sure, but I don't think he had the cover skills that Darren Woodson did. And sometimes you see guys that played for multiple Super Bowl winning teams for the same team get in. That can be considered on the fence. I could think of 2 Steelers wide receivers in the 70s, John Stallworth and Lynn Swann. I don't necessarily have a problem with Stallworth. I'm not sure Lynn Swann should be in though, but of course was on part of 4 Super Bowl winning teams with the Steelers. Sometimes those teams get in a lot of guys. So yes, I do believe Darren Woodson should be in the Hall of Fame, but let me know in the comments, do you believe Darren Woodson should be enshrined in Canton? Let me know. Anyhow, stay tuned on next Thursday where we take a look at another Players Hall of Fame case. Anyhow, don't forget to subscribe. Tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend to subscribe. Like the video, share the video, hit the bell for notifications. I'm